Mitch McConnell, who runs the National Republican Senatorial Committee, did for a long time. He's now the minority leader for the Republicans in the Senate. His wife is Elaine Chao, who just magically happened to become a board member on a lot of companies right after she married the senator. Weird how that happened. And then she started getting paid a lot of money for speeches she made to those same companies. And then she got a $200,000 job at the Heritage Foundation. And then lo and behold, she found herself as the Secretary of Labor under the Bush administration. Now, earlier we told you about some of the mining disasters that happened when she began to not enforce safety regulations. Now, she was supposed to be looking out for labor. She did the exact opposite. And the less she fined the companies for their safety violations, and the more workers she fired, and the more people she put in charge from the executives at those same companies into the Labor Department. A wholesale takeover of the Labor Department by the very companies they're supposed to regulate. The more she did that, the more money flowed into her husband's campaign coffers, into Republican campaign coffers, and eventually, when she got out of government, back into her through think tanks, speeches, board membership, etc. Now, I want to fill in another part of that puzzle for you. So when she comes in, if the people in the industry couldn't effectively get legislation through by the use of McConnell and the other Republicans, well, then they would turn to her. So let me give you a couple of examples. For example, the Food Marketing Institute lobbied the Senate and the Labor Department after President Bush took office in 2001 to kill the mandatory ergonomics rules that President Clinton had intended to protect workers from repetitive stress injuries. They say they represent about 26,000 grocery stores, and if people are getting these injuries while working at the grocery stores, well, they don't want to pay for it, right? So they don't want to deal with that pain, and they want to just be able to fire people, etc. Worker protection, pain in the ass, right? So Bush is in charge. Chao is now at the head of Labor. McConnell's in the Senate. So what McConnell does is he gets a resolution passed that the Clinton safety rules shall have no force or effect, right? But you know what? It's just a resolution. So just to be safe, they go to Chao at the Labor Department. She seals the deal by replacing Clinton's safety rules with, quote, voluntary guidelines. And she says that she has done this in a, quote, new spirit of cooperation with those same business interests. Well, that is a new spirit of cooperation, because right afterwards, that same institute, which had given $13,000 to Mitch McConnell over all of the 1990s, began to give $13,000 to him per year. So now that's a small example. They're starting to give him all this money. And I'm telling you, it's easy to buy these people. $13,000 a year is not that much money when you're representing 26,000 grocery stores and you stand to make a lot of money by not protecting your workers. Okay, now this is being reported by the Lexington Herald-Leader. This is a story back from 2006. The main thrust of it was mining. And in the story, they explain how the safety violations could cost people's lives. After the story ran, we had mining disaster on top of mining disaster because of exactly what this story was talking about. But it's not just about mining, and it's not just when people die. So this is one example. Let me give you two others. You had the people who hire the legal immigrant farm workers, the agribusiness, right? Now they're legal, right? And according to the law, they're supposed to get an annual raise in wages. It's not very much. It was all the way up to $6.60 in 2006. But agribusiness, well, they didn't want to give that money. That adds up if they have a lot of workers, right? So they wanted to stop that. So they go to McConnell, and they give him $1 million for his campaign, okay? So now over a period of time, they gave him that $1 million, so it's legal. And they say, all right, go ahead and stop their wages for the poorest workers in America, right? And he tries, but unfortunately, he lost 4 Republican senators, and he couldn't get it done. He couldn't get the bill passed. No problem. You turn to his wife, Elaine Chao, at the Labor Department. Now, by law, she's supposed to raise there's a report that comes in every year that gives them that small raise in salary. Well, Elaine Chao, just for a couple of years, wound up not filing that report. Golly gee willikers, what could she do? I mean, they are paying her husband, right? She instituted a, quote, indefinite delay in the release of the annual Labor Department report until a district judge, Gladys Kessler, ordered her to resume publishing the wage report in a timely fashion. But in that amount of time, all those workers lost that money, and the agribusiness made up well over the $1 million that they contributed to her husband. Well played. Example number 3. In 2002, McConnell filed an amendment to a corporate ethics bill that would force unions to file far more detailed public reports on their spending. So he wants to, cause trouble for the unions because he thinks the unions give money to the Democrats, which is true, they do, right? So now this is playing politics, but it's okay. They're on the Senate side. That's what they do. They're politicians. But as it turns out, he lost, right? And they couldn't fight the unions that way. If they had won, I say, hey, look, that's normal politics. But when they lose, guess who they turn to? Elaine Chao at the Labor Department. Now, here's where I want you to pause. She is the Secretary of Labor. She's supposed to be looking out for labor in the country. Instead, what does she do? She announces strict rules on union expense disclosures through the Labor Department's mandatory reporting system and does the same exact thing her husband wanted to do in the Senate but couldn't. And so then they get the reporting requirements, et cetera, et cetera. So she fights against the unions and says strict reporting requirements. But when it comes to the report for agribusiness to pay a little bit more to their lowest paid workers, well, she can't be bothered with that. You see, they have no interest in representing labor. All they have an interest is in representing their own back pocket. And this is how our government gets bought. And this is why, look, it happens with Republicans, and it definitely happens with Democrats as well. But I'll tell you what, Republicans have made an art form out of this, and having read all of this and studied all of it, I am not the Democrats' friend, and I get a lot of heat for going after Democrats on similar issues all the time. But I will tell you this, every single Republican, in the Senate at least, is a wholly owned subsidiary of corporate America. Every one of them. And if a Republican president wins, this is what I told you was one of the best parts about electing Barack Obama. I said it from day one when he got elected. Obama does not do this, okay? Now, he does other things that I think are way too corporate friendly, but he does not fill the Labor Department with representatives of the industry who do everything to fight labor, okay? If the Republicans win on a presidential level, they fill every one of these departments with industry executives. And that leads to mining disasters, that leads to lower wages, that leads to fighting labor, that leads to your detriment and to the great benefit of their rich benefactors. And so if you're a conservative, you think these Republicans are on your side, you're crazy. They're not on your side. All they're trying to do is remove the taxpayer money in every way they can and funnel it to the people who are paying them. It's a scam. And you're the sucker that they're playing it on. Look, you might not want to vote for a Democrat. You might not be progressive or liberal. And those are all perfectly understandable. But if you think you're getting a conservative when you vote for a Republican, you've been had. They're not conservatives. They're the guys who serve the richest people in America your money. You're crazy to vote for a Republican. Absolutely nuts. I mean, you can show me a Republican here or there and you say, hey, look, Ron Paul, he's not bought. Okay, I might not agree with him, but I know he's not. I agree that he's not bought. And there'll be examples from time to time. The governor of Utah was a Republican that was very interesting. Real conservative, not bought, not a bad guy. And there are a couple of others in the country. But as far as the senators, all bought and paid for. And you didn't buy them, and they're not working for you.